My name is Sherry Naudine. I'm the owner of Collegiate Sports Advocate. Wow, we have a powerful panel here tonight. And I was just explaining the amount of listeners that we get over this next week is going to be phenomenal. We all share this space out to our own Twitter audience. You can also share it out to Facebook and other audiences that you might have a powerful influence on. But the topic in my staff meeting came up, why Juco? Like, what is wrong? Why don't people understand the immense power of what a junior college is and what it does to our game? And one of our advocates mentioned, and you add the portal on top of this. I mean, we just lived COVID, and I put 20% of our 22 class in Juco, and they're starting to all transfer out. But the value of it, we want you guys to have this platform here tonight to listen to these college coaches. We're going to go through one by one and introduce themselves, and then we're going to come back and get into the meat of it. So again, I'm the owner of CSA, and we have over 1,200 clients nationwide. We have 565 committed student athletes right now, and it's because we focus on the fit. So I'm going to mute, and I'm going to bring up Coach Jackson first. Why don't you introduce yourself and why you picked Juco and your background right now and where you're at?
Well, according to my logo, I'm over here at SFA now after being at Odessa. I was at Odessa for 6 years, at Ranger College 3 years before that. So I guess you could call me a JUCO veteran and new to the D1 world. So here to provide perspective on both sides of things. Feel free to ask me whatever you need.
And what was your playing background? Where did you grow your game?
I was in the baseball side of things, and I played all 4 years at McMurray University in Abilene.
Wonderful. Awesome. And so, Jason Miller, you're up next. You were one of the brainstorms here this morning, giving us this great idea of bringing this type of panel together to talk about why JUCO. So love to hear your background, Jason, and why you're coaching at JUCO. Oop, you have to come off mute. You have to hit that mute button down there on the bottom left.
All right, take two.
There you go.
But hey, thanks for having me. And I think we need to find out, is Jeff's wife listening to him from the same room? Is she in a different house? Because she's on the list.
Yeah, different room. I think she's over in the living room somewhere.
All right.
She's watching the kids.
I'm hiding from the kids.
Exactly.
He's in the basement. This is I was trying to figure this out earlier. I think this is my 14th year of recruiting JUCO softball. And I can't say why I got into it. It was more just trying to get in the college ball, and that's where the opportunity was at. And I stuck with it, and I think a big reason is just the relationships you can build. You don't have all of the constant little rules that NCAA has to deal with, where if you're recruiting, you're just going to talk to anybody. And it's not always about recruiting. You know, you're just able to build so many relationships. And I think it helps the JUCO level to be a little bit more relationship driven.
And what was your player background, and how did you get into coaching at junior college?
I played at Mid-American Christian University up in Oklahoma City. I started out coaching baseball and softball, both at a high school in Oklahoma. And then there was just one Christmas where Mike McBrayer was at West Oklahoma State and looking for assistant, and we knew a couple of the same people, and they kind of just matched us up.
Fantastic. And I'm going to pass the mic to Coach Flanagan now. Give us your background, where you're at, and Jason will go back on mute, and then we'll come back around.
Sure thing. Happy to be here. I am at Weatherford College. I've been at the college for 15 years. I've been coaching softball for 13. I was a scout with the Cincinnati Reds for 8 years, and got out of that, moved to coaching at Weatherford College for the baseball side. Got an opportunity to move over to softball. I'd had some friends that had done it, that loved it, and I gave it a shot and never looked back. Playing wise, I played 4 years at Lamar University, and then played 5 years of independent professional baseball after that. And just like I said, I got into the softball side of it and loved it, and not even looking for any opportunities on the baseball side anymore.
That's awesome. And Tori, love to have you on here. I'm so happy that you joined us, and you just recently transitioned out of JUCO into Division One. So tell us about why you went JUCO, and give us a little hint on how's it going so far for you.
Thanks, Sherry, for the intro, and thanks for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity. My name is Tori Smith. I'm assistant softball coach at UTSA in San Antonio, and like Sherry said, just recently transitioned from junior college in August to this Division One position. Love JUCO. I was a JUCO bandit. Played 2 years at Northern Oklahoma College in Tonkawa. Finished up my career at Cameron, Division Two in Southwestern Oklahoma, and then went straight into coaching JUCO for 3 years at Vernon College, North Texas. Then transitioned to work with Coach Wynn at Trinity Valley for 2 years, and so that was my 5 years of coaching previous to this upcoming spring.
Fabulous. So, I am going to just remind our listeners, if you guys can share out that this space is going live, it's going to be an electric one with a lot of information. We have 4 fabulous college coaches on here. All have junior college background, and 2 are currently coaching in Division One. So next, I want to just kind of hand the mic, like come up with one thing that you really, really liked about JUCO college or currently like about it. Jason mentioned already the relationship piece. Coach Jackson, what other big value is important for these potential JUCO players to know?
Well, I'll tell you this: probably the one thing that I really miss about the JUCO level is the practice time that you're allowed. A lot more restrictions, a lot more time constraints as far as countable hours, but also just less flexibility with a lot of classes in some cases as they're getting into their upper level courses. And so whenever I was at Odessa, we would start practice at 1, and they always gave me a hard time that we had 5-hour practices, which that's a lie, but we had time to have a solid warm up and get into some individual defense and some team defense every day, get into our BP and then base running stuff, and then go to the weight room after that. And there's no substitution for the development that you can get at a quality JUCO. Quality being the word, because you can't just go to any old JUCO. You got to make sure you do your research, and you got to make sure that you find the program that is going to take advantage of the opportunities that JUCO provides. But I've been adamant every single month over here is I just miss the time that you're allowed to work with players and help them develop in those really important years of their life.
That's fantastic. And I hope you all notice there's some emojis down here at the bottom. If you look at the little heart and the plus, you can actually give a little love while the speaker's talking. There's some things and it makes it kind of fun. So that was awesome, Coach Jackson. And Jason, you're next. He's slow on that mute button. Come on, Miller.
You got to give him credit. He's trying to survive. He's an Okie over here, just trying to figure out technology, Sherry.
Here's a difference between an Okie that went to Texas and a Texan that stayed. The Okie figured out he needed to go to Texas. The Texas guy just got blessed from the beginning. So that just shows I'm a little more intelligent in my decision making.
That's right. You had time to think about it. So give us another reason why JUCO.
Well, Jeff hammered on what I was going to hammer. But I'll just add a little to it. It's the, like he said, the lack of restraints, but it's also the length of the period of that fall. We're going to get another month. And if you think about it, I'm sure every 4-year school in America would love to have one more month to work with their freshmen and sophomores, especially their freshmen, in that first fall. And that's what we get. And I think you can put a little more eyes on, a little more hands-on development, where maybe at a 4-year you have to rely on them to do a little more on their own. And sometimes freshmen just don't know how to do that yet. They haven't had time to acclimate. So I think that's a big thing. And it's really just about fit. I mean, sometimes it's better to go to 4 years. Sometimes you're right, that's a better position for you. And I wish kids, whenever they would get kind of to their final 4 or whatever their final list is, just right beside each team's name, just write D1 or write Juco on all of them, regardless if they're D1, 2, Juco, NAI, whatever. Just write it. And then ask yourself where I want to go. And I think you're going to be a little more honest with yourself of where the better fit is, whether it be that 4-year school or 2-year. But the practice time is huge, especially because we're dealing with underclassmen.
I love how you go right to the close of why Juco and how to make that decision. You know me, I got that decision grid. So, Coach Flanagan, what's another one you can add?
Well, I've got a couple points. The practice time, of course, they're exactly right on that. But we also get 20 games in the fall where we can play different level schools. We play D2s, we play D1s, we play NAIA schools, and that experience in the fall is huge for them. And being a freshman or a sophomore at a JUCO, it's hard to replace 150 at bats. And not to say that a freshman's not going to go in and play at a 4-year, but they have a better chance at playing a lot of times at a 2-year because we only have freshmen and sophomores. And there's just no substitution for 150 at bats as a freshman or 100 innings for a pitcher as a freshman for growth. I mean that there's to me there's no amount of bullpens or BP that can replace that.
Absolutely. And Tori, what do you think? What's another one?
These three gentlemen are spot on, no doubt, in everything that they said. As far as things outside of just performing on the field, it's the experience factor in being a college athlete. It's the season is long, and like Coach Flanny just said, you got 20 games in the fall, and then you have 56 plus in the spring, and being able to manage and juggle, life and school and softball as well, and getting that experience and getting your feet wet before you get to your 4-year, I think that plays a huge factor. Coach Jackson hit on going to quality junior college, and I think that's a huge point. You want to look for a school who's going to be able to help grow and develop you physically, mentally, as well as like just the game IQ, because everything speeds up. And I think junior college has plenty of opportunity to help aid in all those assets, from experience to playing time to just being able to manage the day-to-day life of being a collegiate athlete, no matter what the level is.
Absolutely. One thing I say that I'm going to compliment all four of you is your ability to train and develop. This is what you love to do, and you're able to do this with them more often, like Coach Jackson said, than you do in Division 1. You're some of the best trainers in the business. And why somebody would not want to do that and maybe go to a lower in Division 1. I mean, is D1 at the top level the same as D1 at the lower level? No. And I don't understand why people don't understand, even after being told, that the likelihood of having a greater experience and being more valued when you transfer in as a junior is 100 times bigger and better than if you just go in as a freshman. No matter what layer you go into, you're always more valuable as a junior, as long as you're doing the work. So I'm going to go around again, and just if you want to just come off mic and just share if I've missed something so far, because then I'm going to ask what's some of the downsides. So, Coach Jackson, anything else you want to add on the value side?
No, I mean, I think we kind of covered it all there. Obviously, there's probably plenty that we could really dive into, but the key points I think we hit pretty well.
Awesome. Anybody else want to add any value points before I ask some what's wrong with JUCO questions? All right. So one of the things I thought, and I put a couple notes here, is what's the downside? Coach Jackson, what's one of the downsides of JUCO?
From my experience, I would say probably the biggest downside is going to be the fluctuation of talent that you face. Even just year one right now at SFA, you can really see the consistency of what you're facing. There's not a lot of surprises as far as showing up to the ballpark, and there's pitchers that can't throw over 50 miles an hour or whatever. But honestly, at the JUCO level, you may randomly see an All-American 64 mile an hour arm one day, and then go see a kid who can't even touch 50 the next. And I'm not exaggerating, unfortunately. That was something that always drove me crazy, because how do you teach a kid how to be successful against both speeds? Whenever they're a freshman in college and they're still trying to figure out how not to be a robot and things like that. So that was something that I always kind of griped about a little bit. Is I hated playing those just bottom of the barrel type JUCO teams, because they kind of just made you worse sometimes. You just didn't really understand why you were on the field with teams that can't play catch, and they look sloppy. They're coached sloppy. Um,
Kind of reminds me of high school.
I mean, it can, and it's, yeah, same thing where you get like a huge fluctuation of talent. You have some of the best high schools in Texas where you go watch a game and it's just electric, and then you have others who are just booting the ball around. They can't hardly throw it across, and can't do the little things right at all, and so that would probably be my biggest gripe overall at the JUCO level, is just running into those day to day opponents, and you never really knew, especially if you didn't know a program, you
Right.
never knew what you were going to get.
Well, it's funny when I look back 10 years ago when I started doing the recruiting, I didn't even understand there was layers in JUCO. Now I get the talent layer, but I didn't know there was a Division 1, Division 2, Division 3 in JUCO. Do you have any insight on that and what that means to the listening
Yeah, I
audience?
mean, I think as far as D1, D2, D3 JUCOs, you have like your you have the rules is really the only thing that defines them as far as like scholarships. So D1s are fully funded. You have 24 full scholarships if your school allows you to have or to be fully funded. You get 24 full scholarships to offer. D2s, I believe, and I don't want to misrepresent anybody, because I'm not 100% sure of all of the rules of the D2, D3 JUCO levels, but I know D3s are not allowed athletic scholarships at all. And then the D2s are, I believe it's just tuition and fees. I think Miller could probably correct me if I'm wrong there, but I believe you can only offer tuition and fees, not room and board. Um, so anyway, I mean, it's just like anywhere else. D1s have some really, really good teams, obviously. And D1 also has some really bad teams. And I'm talking NCAA right now,
Right.
but D2, you have some just powerhouse programs out there, and you have some really bad ones. JUCO's no exception. JUCO D1, you can have just an absolute powerhouse program. Probably the biggest difference between NCAA and NJCAA is going to be um, probably the top 2, 3, maybe even 5 D2 programs, depending on the year. I would say for sure top 2 D2 programs in JUCO could absolutely go and compete at a national level, at the Division 1 level also. Whereas
Absolutely.
obviously, I mean, you have the best D2 NCAA program out there, and they're not going to be able to compete at the national tournament in the Division 1 level. And so I think that's
Gotcha.
kind of a little bit different on the JUCO side of things, where I mean there are some just juggernaut D2 programs, and then D3 has got. I guess now that Rock Valley has moved up to D2, D3 is a little bit weaker there, but yeah, I mean it's just like I said earlier, it's just kind of hit or miss. There's some really good programs in each level, and really just scholarship limitations is what's going to make the difference there.
Awesome. And then, having somebody like me to help them sort through all of those things really helps, right?
There you go.
And Coach Miller, we'll go to you. Did you want to add something more to what Coach Jackson said?
Yeah, just right. The D2 level for junior college is books, fees, tuition. They can't offer room and board, so there's a differentiation here, right? I think a couple of things is one's adding to what Jeff said, that the variety of quality, the non-quality pitching can be a turnoff. I think that's why a kid has to look hard at what the strength of schedule of that program is. So they're seeing less of that variety and they're going to see more quality. But even if you've got a really high strength of schedule, you're still going to see some low quality. And you're just going to have to challenge the be grown up, and we always say hitters hit. If she's throwing 51 and you're walking to the dugout and saying she's slow, who cares? Hitters hit. But he's right. That variety is way different of quality versus non-quality than what they're facing at SFA and UTSA. The other thing I would add is you got to get recruited again. And I know there's a lot of people that are insecure about that. You know, recruiting getting the first time or getting recruited once in high school is tough enough and stressful enough. And some kids don't want to go through that second time. So I think that goes back to, again, look at the track record, you know, whether it be the strength of schedule, the program, what they're doing with kids getting moved on. I know we've had a lot of success with that, especially in the last 4 to 5 years. It's just kids have to do their research and know what they're walking into.
So I'm slow on the mic now. Coach Flanagan, did you want to add any other downsides or anything in addition to Coach Miller and Coach Jackson?
Well, I agree with them 100%. It's research. Look at the school's track record on moving kids on. Obviously, that doesn't guarantee you anything, but it gives you an idea of where their kids go on a yearly basis. And I would say facilities. I doubt that Jeff and Tori deal with bad facilities. That's something you've got to deal with. You know, our kids, along with Jason's kids, I'm sure, and McLennan's kids that are used to pitching on turf, and then they get a bad surface that they've got to overcome. And like Jason said, hitters hit, and you got to deal with what you got and overcome some adversity. But I would say facilities, you know, you're going to run into some bad facilities. And I would say also research their academics. What are they doing with their kids academically? How many academic All-Americans do they have? How many kids are getting academic scholarships on top of their athletic scholarships to move on to the next level? That's another thing that needs to be researched. Are they just letting you go to class and pick your classes? I can't speak for anybody else, but we have academic advisors for our athletes. We have an academic advisor just for softball athletes.
That's huge.
To put them on track, because we try to graduate the kids, and we try to hammer on them the importance of the academic side. You know, we've had All-Americans in the past that ended up in places they shouldn't have ended up because of academics. You know, they did everything right on the field and did everything you asked them to in practice, run through a wall for you, put up crazy numbers, but had a problem going to class, had a problem turning in their work, and didn't end up where they should have. And they'll tell you to this day that they regret it. So I would say, when you're researching, I agree with Jason 100%. Strength of schedule, you know, who they're playing, who are you playing in the fall, who are we getting exposed to. But obviously, we're blessed with facilities. Our conference is pretty blessed with facilities, and you know, that's something to look at. But I would definitely encourage them to look at the academic side of the JUCOs as well, and say how many kids you graduate and how many kids are getting academic money when they get out of there. You know, are you doing grade checks? Are you doing study hall checks? Are you holding them accountable in the classroom? Because if you're not, then what are we doing?
Absolutely.
You know, we're not preparing them. We're not preparing them for the next level. And that's that's another part of growth that I like seeing here, because we'll get students that might have been average high school students that come here. They have all the resources they need to be successful. They use the resources, and they leave here, you know, Phi Theta Kappa or with a 3.5 or better, and they're getting academic money, and they know how to be a student now. And to piggyback off of what Tori said, just learning how to be a student at a smaller level, with smaller class sizes, and we can keep our thumbs on them a little bit more than those guys can. And they're not taking upper level classes as well which helps. But just the growth, not only on the athletic side and on the field side and the softball IQ, but just learning how to be a student and learning how to be a student athlete. And it's about time management and holding them accountable for the classroom, as well as being at practice on time. Hold them accountable for being in class on time. So
Great
that would
details. Yep.
be that would be my take on some of the negatives versus, again, adding some positives in there.
Awesome. And Tori, I know that was a lot, but there's some great detail. What else can you add?
Yes, ma'am. I knew Miller was going to take mine on this one. No, I'm just kidding. But I really just want to reiterate the stereotype that I feel like has always been out there, and maybe a little bit different with football, baseball, but softball side of being a JUCO athlete, I feel like there's a little bit of hesitancy to want to go through that recruitment process again. Whereas, in football, baseball, they're going at it, looking at it as a chip on their shoulder, and they're going to do what it takes, because what got them to where they're at is not going to get them to where they want to be, right? So they know they have to go and do more. So if anybody has that mindset of, oh, I'm scared, or I don't feel good about going through the recruitment process again, then that needs to be a mindset shift to think about it in a more positive light. Like, I'm going to a place, I've picked an institution that's going to help me get to where I need to go, but it's not just going to be because of what they're offering me. It's because I'm built different. I have a different mindset. I know what it's going to take to get me there, and nothing's going to stop me because I have everything that I need to get me there. So I think
Well,
that's a huge part for sure.
absolutely. And you hit on another point, and Coach Flanagan, you did too. My program is built on staying with them till they graduate college. So I'm there to help them through the transfer stage. And I work with the coaches to make sure that I'm, serving up college coaches that are going to be good fits for them. And I get that feedback. And so it's a real, double safety net per se. And then the accountability and time management. In fact, this Sunday is our time management training, and we teach our entire program 168 hours in a week. And what are you doing with it? And it started, I was a guest speaker to a JUCO in New York, gosh, 10 years ago. And I rolled it out there, and they were like, oh my God, where did you do this? I said, it's called survival as a mother of three kids who played multiple sports and, was in corporate America. So I literally teach our student athletes this tool so that when they get to you, they can handle the time on the field and all of the things that are being thrown at them. And so it's less stress and it's less pressure, and they can focus on what they came to do. One thing that was brought up this morning in our staff meeting, and I'll pass the mic again, is we think this new portal rule of literally everybody can change every year is going to be a huge advantage to junior college. And Tori and Coach Jackson, I'd like you guys to play on, will that make you go more towards JUCO transfers in the future so that you have somebody more established and ready to finish out their final 2 years and will be less likely to transfer? So, Coach Jackson, I'll start with you.
As far as recruiting goes, I would say I'm always on the lookout for players who will help us become better. I don't care if that kid's out of the portal. I don't care if that kid's JUCO. I don't care if that's a high school kid. I don't care if it's a grad transfer. To me, I'm always going to find the right fit. And I think that's very, very important for my recruiting philosophy personally. And so for me, it's not going to have much of an impact on what I do. I think that there's going to be a lot of naive excitement for kids thinking, oh, well, I can just go and transfer. Well, if you're somebody who jumps into the portal out of a 4-year and says, well, I'm just going to go, I'm way better than the 2 at-bats that I got this past year, or, coach doesn't see the value in me, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to jump into the portal. Well, nobody wants to recruit your 2 at-bats either. And a lot of times the coaches who are sitting there just scouring the portal looking for their next transfer, there's a reason why programs are consistently at the bottom of their conferences, right? But with the coaches and the programs who are looking to better their programs, who are looking for the right fits, the kids who fit in or at least can be molded into their philosophies and can help that team become better, then they're going to go look for best available. And I'll tell you right now, I mean, I have no problem pulling a kid out of the portal. I have a couple of portal transfers on my roster right now. And I've also signed 2 Juco kids already for the 24 class because I am not very patient. I am not somebody who's going to sit there and say, well, I need a catcher, so I'm going to wait around until the portal opens up to see who I can get. I'm not going to wait around for that. I'm going to go find the kid who really is excited to be a part of the program, who I know will help us become a better program. I'm going to go sign that kid right away. And it doesn't matter if I find a high school senior who's kind of flown under the radar for whatever reason, or if it's a Juco kid. And in this case, I went and signed 2 Juco catchers who are going to make us better next year, specifically at the plate, and so I think that's important for me specifically because, like I said, I mean, I will always take advantage of opportunities whenever I'm presented with them, but I'm not going to sit there and gamble my future and the future of my program on a player just magically appearing and saying yes out of the portal. Because I promise you this, if there's a stud catcher coming into the portal, then there's going to be about 150 plus schools who are also contacting that kid for whatever reason. I would say 90% of the schools contacting that kid are literally just contacting every single player in the portal, or at least every single catcher in the portal, because that's how some coaches operate. But, for me, I'm going to go find kids who genuinely are excited to be a part of what we're doing over here at SFA. I'm going to go find kids who make us better, and I'm not going to be very patient in pursuing those players. So, probably not the answer you were expecting.
No, it's a
Definitely
great
a lot more
it's
aggressive than I
yeah.
intended it to be, but
No, it's great
that's just kind
information.
of my
And
philosophy on the portal in general. Is
yeah,
is
and
it doesn't matter.
the audience needs to hear it because everybody's different. Everybody's unique and everybody has their own path. And then each one of you are unique. And that's why we love bringing you guys on here, is hearing your different perspectives. So thank you. Jason.
Well, Jeff's a lot like Jim Leland. He'll never lie to you whether you like it or not. So, and you gotta love that about him. And
Yeah,
he's
I'm not
dead.
very good at hiding what my true thoughts.
And he's dead on. And we keep hearing the word fit, and that's what this is all about. It's fit for us as college coaches. It's fit for the athlete, whether it be coming out of high school, the portal, junior college, grad transfer. It's all about fit. And we don't always get that right. All of us as coaches work hard to figure out if that kid we're going to recruit or decide to recruit is the right fit. And that kid should be trying to figure out if we're the right fit, and we should be both be asking a lot of questions and doing a lot of research. And when you do ask a lot of questions and you do a lot of research and it's reciprocal, most of the time, and probably a good 90%, it's a fit. And it works out that way. Not that there won't be any adversity, not that anything's going to be automatic or easy for either side, but it's probably going to end up being a fit once you get through the process of just the maturation that takes place over your time at that school. Now, sometimes it doesn't work out that way. Sometimes you think something's a fit, it ends up not being a fit. But if we're just looking at status or just economics or just one thing, we're probably going to miss out on fit both ways. But if we're looking at every little thing to figure out how to make the best choice possible, we get the highest percentage of chance of having fit both directions. And that's what we both want. We want that for our players. We want that as coaches. We want that for our family, our program. It's really just all about fit.
So $1 million question. Do you think this new portal change is going to help you or hurt you in Juco?
I think it'll help. And the reason I say that is we've already seen it helping from prior to change. Just because, like Jeff said, there's so many 4 years that will sit on the portal, and that's how they're going to fill their roster. And maybe now, instead of them going to getting 5, 6 high school kids a year, they're getting 3 high school kids. Well, if we think about that, particularly being in the South where we are, where there's so many players, if you've got even just 100 schools that are approaching it that way, we're talking about 300 more players that are available to go the junior college route. And that number's not near as magnified as what the real number probably is. I just can't give you what the real number is. There's no way of knowing. And with the new rule changes, you may see that number go up even more. There's just more availability now of kids that aren't going to the 4-year roster because they're exchanging rosters.
Awesome. And Coach Flanagan?
Well, I mean, those guys are spot on. It's hard to quantify it, like you said. From what I can see, we're getting a lot of earlier looks from kids, a lot earlier. Like, for instance, we're going to go out recruiting this summer looking at a few 25 grads and then 26 grads, whereas in the past, we'd still have 3, 4, 5 2024 kids we're trying to look for. So if is that because of the portal? I don't know, but I can see a shift. Whatever's making that shift, there is a shift because we're seeing it. We're getting interest from kids heck, I got an email from a 2029 the other day, but the kids we're getting and we're signing or that we're committing is earlier than we have in the past. So if I had to guess, obviously the portal was newish, and we're seeing this shift. So I guess you can correlate the two, but I wouldn't want to definitively say that that's what it is. But I can see that.
Yeah.
And to talk about fit, I agree with them 100%. We talked to a D1 coach today who wanted to send us a player for a year and then take them back. And our first question was, is she a good kid? What are we getting? Are they going to fit our program? Are they going to fit our philosophy? Are they going to fit what we're doing? Are they going to cause any problems? And to go back to what Jeff said about going into the portal with 2 at-bats versus leaving a junior college with 300 at-bats. I think there's something to be said for that too, as far as rolling the dice on where you're going to end up.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, we don't deal with the portal. We don't have a lot to do with the portal. But to answer your question, maybe that's the shift that we're seeing with verbaling kids a lot earlier than we would in the past. I can see it. I can see that being the reason.
Gotcha. How about you, Tori?
Yeah, I don't know how much it's gonna, tip the scales as far as percentage wise of what we recruit from JUCO to the portal or anything like that. It goes back to, are you tough? Do you want to compete? Are you gonna do what it takes to be on board with what we're trying to do over here? And like Jeff said, it doesn't matter where that comes from. It's just got to be there. You know what I mean? So I think it definitely did change a lot of things. Even when the portal first, started becoming a big thing, and I was still coaching junior college, it's definitely changed. And like I said, if you just look at it in a positive light, then you can shift that to your own positive twist on either end. But if you look at it negatively, then that's what it's going to be.
Yeah, definitely. One thing I haven't heard you guys say that I deal with on my end, coming in with the student athletes out of high school is the dual credit thing. One, I deal a lot with ACTs, SATs. I'm a huge proponent of higher education. I'm not targeting them to look at their 4-year degree. I'm targeting to look at their master's or graduate program. So I dig a little deeper in this, and I'm really on them to get testing early and often. However, Texas and Hawaii and a couple other schools that have notoriously horrible low test scores focus a lot on dual credit. And I've never understood it because you're just cramming coursework instead of teaching. They're still not getting better test scores. They're not better educated. And then I always pull this one out. Now you hurt yourself from what, 800 junior colleges in the country? Now you're limiting your ability to transfer to those schools. So, one, if any of you know the number of junior colleges we have, and if you've had that effect in the past.
Oh, we've definitely had that effect. I don't know the number. I was trying to think of that while you were saying it. You're probably not that far off in the amount. It may not be quite that many, but it's probably not far off. But it definitely narrows the pool. It's no different if you're like at a high academic 4-year school and there's certain academic requirements coming in. It narrows the pool of what they can recruit to. If a kid's going to finish high school, and we've had this happen probably once, maybe twice a year on a recruit, and they've already got 30 plus hours, we're fine with them coming here for 1 year. We're all for it, but it's pretty rare they choose that route. They're that far in, and they're probably eliminating JUCO from their thought process. So, from a recruiting standpoint, we do have one or two we come across every year where it hampers us a little bit. If they've got like 12 hours, honestly, it just makes an easier transition for them into college where they're not having to cram 15 to 18 hours right out of the gate, and they can learn how to be a college student a little bit better. Um, I, I think you're probably around the test scores. I have not thought about that. Just listening to you, I think it's logical. When we're cramming more classes per year, I don't know how much we're retaining. I think that's something that has helped us as far as kids retaining information in the classroom is we went to an 8-week block schedule instead of every class being 16 weeks. So now kids are taking 2 or 3 classes at a time instead of 5 or 6. And so they're able to retain more. They have more time to go to a tutor or to something more specific, for that class and retain the information and process it instead of I just worked on college algebra and now I got these 4 other classes going too. And I get the midterms and there's 5 tests and finals and there's 5 tests where now it's 2 or 3. If you can only cram so much before you're really not retaining anything.
Right. And it leads to the other one that we came up with this morning is when you go to transfer, if they've narrowed down their major so specific to something, not as common, it makes it difficult to transfer to. They kind of say, well, these are the 5 schools that I can transfer to with my major. And I'm like, that's a difficult way to look at it, but let's be more generalized to get you into a master's program that would get you to the same destination. Do any of you coaches want to speak on that?
Well, I'll just have a quick question. Are you saying at 16 they don't have the same degree as 20?
Well, I always ask the parents, it's my snarky little response. What did you want to be when you were 16? I mean, it's the parents that
Exactly.
are, I had one that says she wants to be a pharmacist. The kid was in the 7th grade and I just looked at the mom and she's like, no, really, that's what her life interest is. And I'm like, oh, please, somebody get me a drink. This is not going to go well because you know how I am when I have to tell them the truth. But you kind of laugh about it, but it really is funny. It's the parents that put this ideal in their head of what they want to be. And I mean, honestly, I wanted to be a race car driver. If any of you have seen me drive, I could. And I wanted to be Pat Benatar. Now that's ridiculous, right? But that the parents buy into that. But that's their dream school and that's their dream major. And JUCO would be a below our talent level, and somehow it's a less than. And after seeing some of y'all's facilities, you have nicer facilities than half of the D1 and most of the D2s. So I'm still shaking my head. I don't think they have enough knowledge. And that's why I wanted to bring this group together tonight. And I can't believe we're, 43 minutes in already. I want to go around again or just come off mute if we've missed something that is just like, oh my gosh, why are you not choosing junior college? What would be let's do this. Let's pass the mic and say the one reason, the biggest reason why you should go JUCO first. Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, I think just going back to the developmental side of things, I think, everybody has to find right fit. If you are polished enough where you have plenty of D1s to pick from and you can go and find your perfect fit from that list, then hey, that's great. You're ready for that level. If the D1s aren't calling, or if the whatever level you're interested in, if you're not getting those phone calls, if you're not getting that interest, then JUCO is a chance to hit the reset button a little bit. But it's not just about resetting and recruiting. You're now basically getting those 2 years of development. you're getting 2 years
With
of
some of the best coaches in the country,
well,
right?
I'm biased for sure, but I would say, there's some excellent JUCO coaches out there for sure. Um, I loved JUCO. I loved being at that level because the hands-on stuff was just incredible. We got so much time to just mold these young athletes into the best version of themselves they could possibly be. And then, the worst part about JUCO to me was you only got them for 2 years, and then you got
Yes.
to, as soon as you got them where you always felt like they could be playing, then you had to go and hand them off to somebody else. And I can't count the number of girls that made comments about, I really wish that Odessa College, or I really wish that Ranger College was a 4-year school and I'd stay here all 4 years and all this. And, hey, that's great. But JUCO is a bridge,
Right.
and I think it should be utilized whenever needed. I think that players who are fringe Division I players, they have some opportunities. And I'm talking now in the same language that I recruited at the JUCO level. But if you're a fringe Division I player and you're getting a little bit of interest, you're maybe getting those walk-on opportunities at the D1 level. You're getting interest from some mid-major programs that are struggling to compete, and you're right there, borderline, but you're just not getting over the hump yet. Well, hey, JUCO is a great route to go get that 2 years of development, and then you'd be surprised who comes calling after that.
Absolutely.
Um, at the JUCO level, I made a living finding kids that nobody ever heard of. I'll be really honest. I did not usually go recruiting, competing versus a whole bunch of other schools out there.
Mm.
I didn't get the kids who said, "Oh yeah, I've got Grayson and Weatherford and Trinity Valley all looking at me too." I had kids going,
Well, that's because you were out in West Texas. You had the
that
plethora of
that's
miles
a big
between
part of
you.
it. Finding kids from Edmonton, Alberta is another part of it,
Exactly.
and
Oh, I love my Canadians. I've got some
so
now. So,
so I mean, I just, and it goes back to how I recruit, and I just want to find the right fit, no matter where they come from or who they are, and so that was just me, but I always felt like it was just such a good opportunity to go and make a name for yourself. And
absolutely.
they don't call them JUCO bandits for nothing.
I
You,
love
you
it.
don't. You have to earn it. You have to go out, and life has to be hard for you a little bit, And I think it should be. I think that you need to go and I think you need to go play in the Texas Panhandle every now and then, and go learn what a haboob is, and just get blasted by sand at 60 miles an hour every now and then, and go have a story that you can tell for the rest of your life of what kind of conditions you played softball in.
That's
Um,
awesome.
you just get some hilarious stories that come from the JUCO level. And I don't think that there's any substitution for that. I
No,
think it's a good experience for the people who need to utilize it, and the people who need to utilize it are probably a greater number than those who realize it right now.
absolutely. I think there would be less quitting and there would be less turnover and a lot of less getting cut. I think some of these people don't understand you can actually get cut in your 4-year programs and be told, we don't see you fit here. So Jason, I want to flip to you and give you the mic here on, what's your biggest thing?
Jeff took it with the development
I
part,
know.
but it's not one biggest thing, and I'm gonna take a couple of them here. Chris already said one of them, and just the amount of game experience opportunity there is, and that's not handed to you. You got to beat out people here too. You got to beat out people at Weatherford. It's not going to be easy by any means. Uh, but another one is, and I think Jeff mentioned this as well. There's so many kids that when they move on, they talk about the JUCO experience being the best experience they ever have. I don't know if that's because we get more time with them. I don't know if it's because it's smaller, maybe a little more intimate because it's smaller. I don't exactly know, or it could just be because it was their first experience, and then they go to be a junior and senior. They're a little more of an adult now. It's just a little bit of a different experience. But investing in relationships is what this is all about. And when you commit to a program and you come in and they invest in you and you invest in each other, you're going to have that kind of experience that you're going to love forever, regardless if you're a 2 or a 4 year. So, I mean, we're probably covering a bunch of them, but there's probably not just one big one that you can just lean on. There's a collaborative of different things.
Absolutely. And how about you, Coach Flanagan?
Well, I'm gonna go a little sideways here. We haven't talked about money.
Yes, please.
You can you go to a JUCO, you come here, you go to Grayson, you go to McLennan, you go to, you name it, and you get 60 hours for free. There's a lot to be said for that too. That's a lot of money.
And that's like $100,000 the way the tuitions are going around the country. I mean, a state school is going to cost you 20 to 30 with room and board just in our state. So, I mean, you hit the nail on the head with money. And then, Coach Torrey, I didn't want to.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can.
Go ahead, Chris.
No, I was just saying that's the only thing that I've heard that I haven't heard yet. Everybody's spot on. Everybody's made excellent points. I agree with everybody, but we haven't talked about the money part of it, and that's that getting 60 hours for free or nearly free, really helps.
That's incredible. And Coach Smith?
All right. Well, they all had good things. I'm gonna go into the leadership aspect of it. I know a lot of times we make statements as coaches. It doesn't matter what grade you are, how old you are. You can be a leader, and I think JUCO gives the opportunity for both freshmen and sophomores, no matter what age you are, to be a leader on and off the field, and then that gives confidence and carries into their ability to really contribute to the culture and the on-field leadership aspects of it at their 4 year. And so that was always one of my favorite things to see coach in junior college, is just to see them grow and develop athletically, but also as well as just like a human being, and just seeing them grow up and move on and be able to make an impact wherever they go next.
Well, I think it's great. And one thing I didn't hear any of you mention is it's really becoming like baseball. And, we saw baseball when my daughter was at Kansas in what, 09 or 11 through 17. Those gentlemen were getting dropped down to JUCO every 6 months. And I think that's a possibility and a potential issue too, of if you don't perform, you could get dropped down. I saw one at a JUCO that had come from a D1 that they told her, look, you fix it up here and you can come back, or, we'll no longer have room for you on our roster. I think we're going to see that happening more and more, because they'll be able to see portal kids that might be more valuable, or they might have other kids coming in, or that you as a student athlete may not have delivered your value that they recruited you to deliver. So I think there's a lot of give and take, and I think it gives some flexibility. I'm hoping it'll stop the quitting that's going on out there. I hope it stops a lot of the movement in the portal. Obviously, our goal at CSA is to find the fit. We do a decision grid. We focus on time management, accountability, communication, staying with them until they graduate. And we also take JUCO kids. I've got one coming out of Indian Rivers that just paid me money to help her find the right fit for her, because even coming out of JUCO, it's a difficult find. And yet that's why I work with you, certain JUCO coaches, because I know the amount of effort and quality relationship that you put into your student athletes and helping them find their fit. So it's all hands on deck to help these student athletes live their dreams and get the right outcomes. So I just want to personally thank all of you. And very short notice, this kind of came about in my staff meeting this morning. I had my arm surgery last week, so most of you have seen me making TikToks about my inability to get my own coffee. And tomorrow I'm going to show you how to roll a burrito one-handed. I've got some good content coming on TikTok. But I was a little behind on getting a space ready for this for today. So I thank you guys for the last minute and for the amazing quality content here tonight. I hope you all reshare this space because I think it's one of the most valuable, vibrant ones we've had in a very long time. Lots of details and a lot of information, and let's hopefully get people to understand why Juco. So, any parting words from our speakers here?
I just want to know if Miller knows what TikTok is.
I've
Probably
already
not.
talked to Sherry about this today. I'm not going to get into it with you. But
we're working on it.
I think before we get off here, Jeff needs to tell us all, including myself, what in the world a haboob is.
Yeah, I have no clue either, Jeff. Let's hear it.
Haboob, you have
Yeah.
to earn that knowledge by living in West Texas, Miller.
How do I spell it
But
before I
I'm
contact him
gonna
and
share
Google
this with you because we're buds. All right.
it?
A haboob is those rolling dust storms that come in the desert. Basically, whenever you see the wall of dirt coming, that's the haboob.
Okay, we had those in Altus. I know what you're talking about.
Yep, I figured you did.
Yep.
That's awesome. Coach Flanagan, anything?
No, just thank you for the platform. I love it.
Awesome.
It's come a long way in the 13 years that since I started, as far as being the stepchildren of college softball. It's gained a lot more respect because of things like this and people getting the knowledge. I think it's just a lack of knowledge.
I do too, because
But
you guys have
I
done a
appreciate the
wonderful
platform.
job. But yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And
yeah, thanks for the platform.
Coach Tori.
No, yeah, thank you so much for hosting us, and we appreciate it and everything that you do to grow the game, and let's keep going.
Awesome. And I'm sending you my invites to my new Hot Shots Live, and it was because of Coach Miller and a couple of D1 coaches that told us to hold it like you do, Coach Flanagan, in a pro scout format. That's coming on Memorial Weekend and in July, so I'll shoot you over the flyers. But thank you guys for always giving us better ideas of how to serve the student athletes. So it is definitely a mutual relationship, and I'll shoot those over at the end of this call here. But please share the space, everybody. And then if you have an idea for me next week, since I'm still recovering here, I need some ideas. My brain is not functioning good for next Monday night's Twitter live space. So thank you, everybody. Have a good night and share.
Thanks, Sherry.
Thank you.